Hi there, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones, and I want to talk to you today about dieting because it's that time of year. We're all thinking about summer holidays, thinking about getting into that bikini, and we're worried that it's not going to look very good. So you think, right, I better go on a diet. And if you're anything like me, I've been a yo-yo dieter all my life up until I found out what it was doing to my. And we're bombarded by fad diets, the latest diets. This is going to make you thin and lose 7 pounds in 7 days, all that stuff. And that's not knocking it, sometimes it works. But what generally happens is that you do the diet, and if it's a calorie controlled or a low calorie or a low fat or a deprivation style diet, it's likely to work in the short term, but it's not likely to work in the long term, especially when you're over 40 and your hormones are in control. Zoe Harcombe's one of my favourite scientists stroke authors. She wrote The Obesity Epidemic, and she says that 98% of people either don't lose weight on a calorie controlled diet or they regain what they lost. 98%. Doesn't seem worth it, does it? All that aggravation. So why does that happen? Well, what happens is when you start to restrict calories or you deprive yourself, your body thinks there must be some famine going on, and it stimulates your HPA axis, your stress response, your fight or flight, because it doesn't know whether you're in an actual famine or not. It doesn't know the difference between famine and just not eating as much food or as many calories. So it stimulates your stress response, and that raises cortisol and puts your body into stress mode. And when your body's in stress mode, it's not going to want to burn fat. It's going to want to store fat. It's also going to slow down your metabolism to conserve your energy. It's really going to mess with your brain because cortisol messes with your neurotransmitters and gives you mood swings and brain fog and memory loss and all those nasty things. And it also suppresses your thyroid, which is responsible for your metabolism. And it doesn't do much for your sex hormones either. So estrogen, progesterone, particularly, because it's not, your body's actually in stress mode. It's not thinking about reproducing or being fertile or making you feel sexy in the slightest. It's worried about protecting you from imminent danger, which is the famine. So when your body's in this sort of kind of stressy mode, it's going to do all these things. So you're going to have less energy. You're going to really crave, because your body's craving for carbs and sugar because it doesn't know when the next meal's coming from. And it's going to be really, really hard to burn fat. So I think, a lot of people go on these calorie controlled diets and they exercise more, and it's really hard for the body to do that because you're kind of it's fighting itself. It's in survival mode and it's trying to conserve energy, and then you're exercising and wondering why you're not burning fat. So the general pattern is that you start a calorie controlled diet, your body goes into this stress, it raises cortisol, and then what cortisol does is it pumps sugar into the blood, because that's its way of getting sugar into the blood, so you've got a quick energy source should you need to fight or flight. And so when the sugar goes into the blood, insulin's needed to come and mop it up and take it out to the cells. And now you've got insulin involved more often than it possibly needed to be. And that is your fat storing hormone. So it's going to store fat wherever possible, especially if you're not exercising as well. So insulin is now involved. Insulin messes with your sex hormones as well. So you can see how this starts to kind of have this knock-on effect of all your hormones. So you're not going to feel great when you're on a low-calorie diet. Duh. Plus the fact that, that you're going to feel deprived anyway. You're going to feel hungry, miserable. Those blood sugar dips are going to make you feel tired, lethargic, and you're going to have super powerful cravings. So what generally happens is you give up on the diet, but what happens after you give up is you go back to eating a normal diet, and your metabolism is now slow because your body slowed it down, and then it's just even more easy to put weight on. So that's why generally we put weight on again even more after the diet has finished. So we want to get off this yo-yo diet roller coaster, and the reason that I bang on about this so much when you're when you're over 40, a lot of the times you can get away with it under 40 because your metabolism is slightly different and your hormones are different. And I got away with it for years. It wasn't until I hit my early 40s that it just wouldn't work anymore. I just couldn't shift that weight. And that's because of these hormones and the delicate balance. And because they're fluctuating from around your mid-30s to early 40s onwards, it's very, very difficult for those fat diets to work because, as I said, this stress effect is so powerful, and it impacts all your other hormones. So what do we want to do? Well, the thing to do is to get your body out of stress mode for a start. Stop stressing about weight. Please don't weigh yourselves. You can obviously use your clothes or how you feel to see whether you're losing weight or not. But weighing yourself every day is a disaster because your weight fluctuates every day, and if you get a down day and you haven't lost weight for any reason, then it's really demotivating and you just don't want to do it anymore. So no weighing. Please don't calorie count. Calories the calorie model doesn't really work anymore. Obviously food has calories, but what's more important is the nutrients in foods, because food is information, it's not just calories. So it has a message to give to your cells when you eat something, and that message can be supporting your hormones and your body weight and your metabolism, or it can be disrupting it. That's how I like to look at food. It's like it's not in and out like a bank account, it's more like a chemistry lab. It affects your biochemistry, and everybody's different, and it affects everyone's biochemistry very differently. So what we want to be thinking about is which foods support our hormones and which foods disrupt them. And once we know that, then we can choose the right foods to support our hormones, and then the hormones are going to work for you. They're going to keep your metabolism going, they're going to encourage fat burning, they're going to keep your mood stable, and they're going to get your brain working properly, and they're going to make you feel good. So moving away from calories and low fat and weighing and all of that stuff to a more nutrient dense diet is the most important thing, and one that you can stick to. We don't want to be on this roller coaster. We don't want to be dieting then coming off and going through all of that, because that's a real stress on the body. What we want to be doing is finding something that works for you long term, and you can adopt the 80-20 rule so that you can splurge occasionally and come off it occasionally. So as long as you're 80% kind of on track and eating really well for your hormones, then it's going to work for you. So what do we eat? Well, all the nutrient dense foods, so as many nutrients as you can, and then you're not going to go hungry either because your body's going to be satisfied. So lots of fat and protein at each meal. That, as long as you haven't got a problem metabolizing fat, obviously, because some of us have genetic, like I said, everyone's biochemistry is different, everyone's genes are different, so some of us have a problem metabolizing fat. But generally, healthy fats help your hormones work, they help them be produced, they help them be stored, and every cell in your body is lined with healthy fats. So we need the healthy fats. We need the olive oils, the coconut oils, avocados, nuts and seeds, oily fish, all of that stuff. And if you can have a little bit of fat at each meal, so that might just mean a drizzle of olive oil or a couple of slices of avocado, some nuts and seeds sprinkled over the top, whatever works for you. But that's really going to help, because what fat does is fill you up. And it also doesn't affect your blood sugar. So you're not going to be on this blood sugar roller coaster if you have enough fat in your meal. And fat does not make you fat, don't worry about that, because it doesn't affect your insulin, which is your major fat storing hormone. So fats and protein, we need protein for hormones, and carbs, healthy carbs, so brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, things like that. So, and obviously all vegetables are carbs anyway. So if you fill your plate with, half your plate with colourful vegetables and lots of varieties, then you're halfway there. So I hope that's been useful, and I will see you very soon. Take care.